Hello and welcome to the second Roundtable series, collaboration between myself with the And Both podcast and Erin Holland from the PGS podcast. And this week we are meeting with Kate Westland Tovsen and Alli Kushner. Kate is the founder of the Society of Working Moms, a growing digital and in-person community built to support working mothers at every stage. Alli Kushner is the founder of BeeKyn, a playdate scheduling platform designed to help caregivers build meaningful, real world connections born from her own experience navigating postpartum depression and early parenthood. So, in this episode, we are talking about just that. We're talking about connection, we're talking about community, talking about why accessible connection and accessible community is the one of the major pillars for motherhood, for working motherhood, for parenthood, all of those things, that there's no right way to do it, but that you have to find a community that works for you. And so we are trying to do that here with a roundtable series of the podcast to grow a community. These two wonderful humans are doing this in their own community building endeavors. And so this was an awesome way for people that are kind of all looking at it from maybe a little bit of a different angle to talk about why that's important, because community is not pie. What works for some person is not going to work for another person. And your needs for community and what that looks like are going to change as you grow in motherhood and as you grow in your life. And so enjoy. Hello and welcome to the And Both podcast. Here we are going to hear from moms and those in motherhood that are doing the thing that works for them. They are honoring themselves alongside the all-encompassing role and level of expectation that is motherhood. And we are going to hear from as many different people as possible in their own experience. So you can find people to relate to. You can hear stories that will make you laugh, make you cry, all of the above, and that we will come together as a community to support one another in a way that is holistic and honoring of the woman and the mother as a whole.
Well, welcome to the second discussion between Ashley Lockington, host of the And Both podcast, and myself, host of the PGH podcast. We are forming these conversations just to bring amazing women together to share their stories. We have met these folks either on LinkedIn and have never met before, or have hosted them individually on our podcast. And it's just really exciting to share these stories, normalize them, and bring people together. We may have a screen between us, but I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. As we all know, there's no map to motherhood or life in general, which we all know that, yet we all feel broken or alone or like we're failing most of the time. And so again, this is why these conversations are so important. We have Kate Westland Tovsen with us today. She founded the Society of Working Moms, and you also have a media company. Alli Kushner has survived postpartum depression. She works for LinkedIn and is also the founder of BeeKyn, which is a playdate scheduling platform. And then Ashley, you are the Dovetail founder and host of the And Both podcast. We have a lot of really amazing minds here, and I did a horrible job introducing you guys. So why don't we dive in just a little bit more, and anyone can kick us off with just who you are and what you're doing.
That was actually great. I would say I'm admittedly not great at my own elevator
Right.
pitch, both personally and for anything that I'm representing that is not like a client. But yeah, just thanks for having us, Ashley and Erin. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm working on my elevator pitch. So I feel like I should be practicing, but at the same time, I'm also like, that was a fabulous introduction. So I'm going to plus one Kate and say, again, thank you so much for having us. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're excited too.
I love the done is better than perfect.
Absolutely.
Just roll it
Yeah.
out. Roll it out, rip the Band-Aid off, and
That's motherhood,
carry on.
though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motherhood motto.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, absolutely. So in prepping for this, I have to be honest, I wanted to at least have some parameters to work with. And I don't usually follow the stats of anything, but there was one stat that stood out to me, and that was that 70% of moms are super lonely. And that was really sad for me. And I know that you guys know this all too well. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Because it just made me want to cry. Go under a rock and be like, can I just tap out? I don't want to know this.
Yeah, I can hop in.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like when I was pregnant, like I was like part of this super amazing club. Like, oh my gosh, like I am now part of this thing that literally everyone has been a part of, either as a birthing person or as someone who has come through a birth canal. And so I was like, wow, I'm like part of this like greater thing. And I did feel my community really like come around me in that. And it felt like I'm not, unique in having this experience, but like once the baby came, it was like all eyes on the baby, which is great. Like, please love on my baby. But also that feeling of connectedness just kind of like vanished. Like I was like, oh, this is like so transformative. And yet I don't feel like I have anyone I can talk to, even though I have all of these people who have been through the same thing. And so I remember feeling, and my kids are 2 and 4, almost 2 and 4. So this was like not that long ago. And I absolutely went through it with the second child as well. But like, just remember feeling like on paper, I had all of these supports and then was like still not, something was still missing. And it was that community care. So yeah, 70% are lonely. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not higher because I don't know. I feel like I have a great network of friends and family, had a great network of friends and family before Society Working Moms. And I was still just like, this isn't enough for me. Like, I need more. I need people saying, I see you. I've been there, or I haven't been there, but that sounds horrible. Or, hey, you did it. Like, I'm celebrating you. Just needed a little more. And also, my love language is words of affirmation. So it's like, especially like I really needed that. Need it always, but like really needed that in those early days of postpartum.
I would agree. 70% sounds right, but I also think that when we look at it, it's the parent landscape is how I'm trying to look at it more and more, that we're in a new season of life and there are different seasons within parenthood. There's Kate talked about the being pregnant and experiencing that, and it's different for each child that you have. And then when you're a new parent and you have a newborn, or if you're welcoming your second and now you have a toddler and a little kid, or whatever the dynamic is, it's always a new season. And having your people around you is challenging when it's just you as an individual. Like I remember it just being me way back in the day where, me and my knapsack sort of thing. And now I come with all of this baggage. So it was challenging as me, the individual, to find my happy place. Not because I like to think I'm an easygoing person or easy to get along with, but you're not going to click with everyone. Not everyone relates to you. Not everyone has things in common with you, and that's not a bad thing. It's a process. I actually I relate it to. I hear a lot of people now talk about finding their therapist, which is a whole other thing, and I find it very interesting. But that it's a process to find your medical professionals or people you jive with, and it's no different when it comes to relationships. And when you're in this new season of life and the different chapters of parenthood, it becomes that much more challenging because you're balancing not just your individual needs and your navigation of new waters, because we're all learning along the way. You can read dozens of books, you can talk to tons of people, but your experience is going to be unique. And so you need to find the puzzle pieces that match into that. And that's the super challenging part. But I do want to call out, and I know we're talking about motherhood specifically, that I do think this is a pervasive parenthood thing, this idea of being lonely.
Yeah. I think there's also the element of, I feel like the 70% is the baseline, and then it's just compounding loneliness beyond that because it's that one role, but being a multifaceted person. When you get into business and, you guys have founded companies, then you're in a whole other loneliness rabbit hole. And so you've got that personal and the professional and everything outside of there that you're not able to find connection because I mean, for me, for sure, I don't have time. And, I can't go to a coffee shop and have like a 2 hour, whatever, because I'm either driving somewhere, I'm in a meeting, I'm all of that stuff. And so how do you find community when your availability to connect with community gets gets turned upside down, basically. And I think a lot of that happens in motherhood, which is why you have the emergence of, mommy and me groups and these small points of connection for people to make. But 70%, again, surprising. And also, too, the statistics around older male loneliness and how that they're I do not know the quote off the top of my head, but they're among the loneliest people categorically. And so I think it's true that we also have to point that out too, but we're talking
Yeah.
about us right now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing you said, Ashley, about there are 24 hours in the day, no one's going to figure out how to change that. We're still working on daylight savings time, right? So the this idea that okay, there are 24 hours in a day. I need to do laundry. And, I'm working. I have kids. I want to spend quality time with them. I have these professional ambitions, whatever it is. I'd like to work out, take care of myself, X, Y, and Z. And I'd like to have a moment to stare at the wall and do nothing.
mm,
Okay,
Mhm.
so you're like what down to I think there's a statistic that like the average parent has 30 minutes of alone time a day because you're constantly doing stuff. And I
Mhm.
can't cite that statistic, but I feel like it makes sense. So
Yeah.
is that 30 minutes your 30 minutes of connection?
I bet it's not even 30 straight minutes too.
No, it's
That's
not.
a good point. That's a
It's
good
very
point.
disconnected.
Depending on the age of your kids, it might be like 30 minutes over that 24-hour period, including 10 to midnight.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think you touched on something actually too. Well, actually, all of you guys have of just the different identities that fall into play, right? And that can be very isolating too. Of am I a business owner and I have to stay in this lane? Am I a mom here? Like, how do they blend together well? And then you ultimately end up having either no community because you're so spread thin, or these siloed communities. And yeah, how do you navigate all that? Like that just, I know for me, that gets overwhelming. And then the introvert in me wants to come out and be like, and I'm going to stay home on my couch because I can't handle this. So yeah, just the community piece is tricky in and of itself.
It's also defining what community means for you, and that can change daily, can change weekly. I go into hibernation modes and then I go into these modes of like, okay, like my kids haven't been sick for 2 weeks, so I'm feeling good. And again, figuring out where am I on the barometer of community. And the great thing about these so many gathering, facilitators popping up, different groups and organizations and companies and whatnot, is that it's a menu. Like there's something for everyone because everyone is in a different spot and we can meet people where they're at. And it doesn't have to be able, this is your only thing. You can have chicken or beef, choose, but I'm a vegetarian. What do you do? So despite that statistic of 70%, I'm also very heartened knowing that there are so many options and growing for people should they want it to explore community and filling their cup in that way.
Yeah, I think that it's important too, is that, one, like you're saying, like one way of connecting with people is not the only way. And again, pandemic, terrible, two thumbs down, don't recommend. However, However, the changes that came out of that were, people are trying to connect with each other on Zoom because they can't go and see each other. And so nobody that was interested in doing that before, like I introduced my youngest child to my friends via Zoom because I couldn't see them in person. And so it
Mhm.
was another way to like be able to share that with other people. And that just like I feel like that unlocked this creative box around how can we embrace technology and make that a key component of community, which you guys are doing. So, like maybe talk about that a little bit. That would be really nice to hear about.
Yeah. I'll talk about that. But first, I want to go back and just like Ashley, you mentioned being a founder. I'm sure Allie and Ashley can both relate. And maybe you too, Erin. Like being a founder is so lonely. So even as a community founder, a non technical founder, it is so ironically lonely. And so I like was part of communities before I started Society of Working Moms, but I went just like all in on community, capital C community, like in real life and digital networking spaces because I was like, I need people to like talk about what I'm doing with who aren't clients, who aren't members of the community. Like I'm not gonna complain about how hard building a community is to the community that I'm trying to
Yeah.
retain.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah. This is so hard. But it is hard. Like being a founder is lonely. It's hard. And being a solo founder and I don't know, a bootstrapped founder, it's yeah, it's just a whole different thing. And so I've found communities that have founders in them. I found even just I've created my own micro communities of, 3 people who are all doing something similar that we can just, be in a Slack DM together or be on a text thread together. So yeah, back to Allie's like defining what community looks like. And back to Erin's like idea of siloed communities. I don't mind siloed communities. I'm like, I'll take the group text thread. I'll take the online community of 2,000 plus. I'll take my like micro community of, not even 200. They all fill my cup in different ways and they all fulfill a different need for me. And so I think it is easy to get stretched thin if you're trying to over index in communities. I feel like finding the 2 to 5, we'll say, that, like, really help fill your cup is what I that's my strategy and what I recommend to people.
Community can be a full-time job, and for some it is.
Yes.
No, that's true.
What was your original question, Ashley?
I just because you guys have created community, so I mean, I would love for you to share those because they do stretch. They're not siloed, and so if you guys want to share what those are.
So, BeeKyn is a pre-launch community. So, I wouldn't necessarily put us in that the strict definition of what community is. It's about being a bridge to build your community. So, it came out of my journey into early parenthood, which started with a very bad bout of postpartum depression. I actually just wrote a personal essay that was published in the New York Times, which I'm super proud
Yay.
of, over
Yay.
Mother's Day weekend. And that was kind of the defining moment in my, there's something missing here in this experience. And then as my husband and I started navigating early parenthood together and we went to playgrounds and we did all of the things and we still felt lonely. Like it was hard to meet our people. So that was the early planting seeds for 24 hours in a day, want to be out in the real world, but finding those connections is challenging. We live in New York City, so if you can't find people here, there you go. So BeeKyn was ultimately the answer to that. So it is a playdate matching and scheduling platform launching later this year. And the two-pronged approach to it is one, how do you find your people? So with the understanding that all of us are putting our kids, their social needs and development at the forefront. So we go on play dates for their benefit, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have a connection with their caregivers, right? So I can sit at the playground and I can chat with anybody for an hour, no problem, but I don't necessarily want to chat with them about what's coming out of my child or their sleeping habits or what they're eating or what they're doing. Like that's not the only thing that occupies my brain. So I would love to be able to use that time to genuinely form a connection and find people, not just for myself, but for my family, who we have a genuine connection. And that's the building of community. So BeeKyn's first approach is finding your people. And it's based on where you're located, when you're available, your kids' ages, and most importantly, the interests about you, the caregiver. So it's not just the mom, it's anyone who's in your immediate tribe of your caregivers for your kids, whatever that looks like, co-parent, et cetera. And then the second component, and this is to Kate's point of there being a million different ways to community, like I'm going to use it as a verb, that how do you organize all of this stuff? Again, 24 hours in a day, and you want to do everything. How do you find the time between nap schedules, between this kid has karate and this kid isn't feeling well, and my husband has a meeting and I'm traveling, and all of these different moving parts? How do you schedule with your 5 best friends? Okay, well, you have a text message who's available on Saturday, and then you don't hear back from people because they're dealing with regular life. And this goes on, and there are many different ways this manifests. So the second component of BeeKyn is whether you're meeting people through BeeKyn or people you already have in your network, it's easy scheduling. So it's figuring out very quickly when everyone is available and being able to schedule your get together and then to export it and sync it with your external calendars. So it makes it the process more seamless, meant to be that bridge to get you to the real life connection.
That's awesome. It is amazing.
I have found my kids are older, so they're 11 and 13, and I have found that past the elementary school years, I'm not meeting parents, and I wasn't prepared for that. So I don't
Yep.
know if BeeKyn can help me find new parent friends.
It's so interesting actually to see the makeup of so we have about 1,000 families on the wait list right now. And that's across 26 states in the United States and also 4 countries, which is super exciting. And seeing who these people are is just so mind blowing to me because there are use cases for this that I didn't think of. So 20% of our wait lists are actually male, approximately 20%. We have, older parents, people who have moved to new communities. You also have co-parents, one who live in different communities, and so they have a bilateral thing that they're trying to figure out. And we also have older parents too. So when I say older, I mean old. I have older kids because perhaps their kids are going to different schools. They're not in the same school district, or they've moved to a new area. And so when we say play date, it's kind of just a catch-all for getting together.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that. Yeah, because it definitely my oldest is in middle school and it's not like people aren't hanging out finishing their coffee in the morning. It's
Mm-mm.
drive up, drop off, see
Or
you
sign up the
later.
car.
Mhm. Yeah, or
And
they're
then
running.
speed away, speed away.
Yeah. And you're honking and waving. I love you,
Yeah.
sweetie.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's true. I mean, and then they go to high school and then they drive and you're like, then you don't even leave your living room.
No, it's so true.
I'm still in the toddler can't get the shoes on to get out the door era, so this is
Same.
all
Yeah.
completely out of my realm of understanding, but they're all, again, different eras of parenthood and the
Mhm.
different support systems and communities that you need or want.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love hearing that there's like such broad interest because I think I'm not going to name names of apps that were trying to connect people together. But when I had my first, I had signed up for an app that was trying to connect parents together, and I found that it was great to feel like I was in the trenches with someone, but I needed someone also like out of the trenches to be like, come out of the trenches. But like when you're fresh postpartum and you're up in the middle of the night and you're lonely, someone was like, try this app. And so I downloaded it and it was what I needed for about 4 weeks probably. And then once my baby, not that my baby was sleeping through 4 weeks, but like once I was a little more regulated myself, I was like, I don't think I need that thing anymore. And then it was when my second was born where I was like, I want to recreate that like stickiness, like the stickiness of like finding people and feeling seen and feeling like you're part of something bigger, part of a larger community while not limiting it to your kids are this age or you're in this geography or like I really wanted to cast a wide net just to be sure that there are people a couple steps behind and a couple steps ahead who could like we could all kind of help pull each other along. And that's like with work or motherhood. So maybe you're like just launching a business or maybe you're changing careers or maybe you are freshly off of like a reduction in force or whatever, but like finding the people who can say, not just I'm in it with you, but like I've been there and it's hard and it gets better and here's the way out or here's a way out. So for Society of Working Moms, I've always just said it's a community by and for moms of all ages and stages. And it was hard to kind of sell it like that initially before I had anything built, but I was really intentional about recruiting beta testers who were moms of older kids. And so now I would say most people, because it tends to be a lonely time, most people are in the like 0 to 6 or expecting to 6 age range. But we do still have a fair amount of moms who have kids who are like grown and flown. And it's just so helpful to like, when they join, I'm like, ooh, another like mom from the future who can like, share all her wisdom. But like, on the flip side, I can't speak for them because I am not one of them, but I think that they're also getting a lot of the community because that mentorship, like that sort of connection, and it's informal mentorship, but mentorship in quotes is super fulfilling for a lot of people. And so I have found that whether you're coming to the community primarily to get help or to give help, it's a nice like soft space to land for working moms of all stripes.
Yeah, I think working moms in general need more support. So, what you've done with Society of Working Moms has been helpful for me just to know that I can tap into that resource too and just learn from anyone. And I think that's what's so cool about it is because I feel like I've just always kind of stayed in my lane, right? I'm like, oh, I just have my blinders up. But to see other people doing amazing things and to learn from them and know that I'm not alone in any part of life, whether it's with kids or at work or trying to come up with a new thing for, the podcast or something else, it's like we're all just winging it and we all just want to be seen and part of something bigger. And yeah, I think it just comes back to being seen, to
Yeah,
know that we are worthy of what we're doing and we're just all in it together.
I love that. That's what I liked Allie's emphasis on, like, I wanna talk about more than just fluids that are coming out of my kid at a given time. Like,
Mhm.
it's so I love that you're building and solving for that, Allie, with I don't know if you're doing, like, some sort of smart matchmaking or what based on, like, interests, but
Yep.
kudos to you for solving for that.
Thank you.
I will say that for me, when it comes to the community pieces, joining a community, whether or not I join, is not as important as whether or not I stay.
Yes.
And the reason that I stay is because there might be a different reason why I join than why I stay. So it's join a community because there's something that you can identify with. I'm a member of Society of Working Moms, and I joined, yay, and it's great and it's wonderful. Met a bunch of people and it was lovely. And then it's been upside down and sideways in my life, like with my own product building and all of this stuff. And the other day, I was thinking, oh, I need to find someone to help me with blah, blah, blah. And so then you look at this array of things available to you, right? Like Upwork and Fiverr and all of these platforms. And I have not had good luck there because there's so much time wasting and there's so much, let me tell you what you need and like all
Mhm.
of this stuff. And so in my head, the first place I think of is I need help and I don't want someone to waste my time. And I also want to like not have to explain so many parts of why I'm like what I'm looking for when it comes to that. And so I went on there, but I have not been very active. Posted, got a couple of people that like reached out and had like meetings this week based on that. And it's that piece there is like join because there are other people that are carrying the same flag as you. Stay because when you need something or when you can offer something, that's the right place for it to land. Like I did not get one single comment back or DM or whatever that was like, here's my lead magnet. It was like, how can I actually help you? Because I know what you need in terms of like my expertise and what you're saying that you're looking for, not like, how can I make another sale? Which I think is amazing.
I love to see those interactions so much. Like there was someone else who like recently she was like, I need help renaming my company. And then through that, like a bunch of people were like, here's some ideas. I'm like, I use ChatGPT based on like the letters in your name. And like people got so creative. And then that woman posted like a couple days ago. I'm really excited. I've like trademarked this new name that came directly from one of you. She just teased
Oh,
it. She's like, she didn't tell us what it is yet. I didn't win. She didn't say that I was the winner, but she was like, with the person's approval, I have trademarked this. She used a lawyer within the community to like trademark it and go down that route. And I was just like,
Wow.
yes. And for that to happen in a community of like 170, I'm like, that's pretty damn cool, I think. And they're women who, they're not all local to the Twin Cities or, they're not like in the same area, which I'm not in the Twin Cities, but that's my closest hub. But yeah, I just love seeing that sort of like coming together. And to Ashley's point, like you don't have to be super engaged in the community. Like I try and stress, and I think any community should be this way, but especially one that's geared towards parents, like it should be a zero obligation zone. I
Mhm.
never want people to feel like they are having to apologize for how they're showing up or how they're not showing up. It's like we do that all the time as parents, as moms, like, no, no, no. So like I have little gentle prompts that are like, hey, I haven't seen you around in a while. Like it's automatically sent based on like, whatever trigger they haven't logged in a couple weeks or something. And I'm like, do not apologize. I'm just wondering, is there anything you'd like to see in here? Do you have any questions? Is there like a way I could make this easier or more valuable to you? I love that people can just show up and say, oh, this is a good place to ask for help. And then have people say, I will help you. Like without I mean, the relationship building is important, but like you don't have to necessarily be best friends with, the 5 people who reached out to say, hey, I can help with that. Or, let me know. Here's my portfolio. Let me know if you want to talk. So I was really happy to see that, Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, I think with any community or any stage of life, right, there's always a little bit of fear to jump in of like, well, maybe they're not going to like me, or maybe they're not going to understand where I'm at in my stage or whatever. And I have to admit, when I joined Society of Working Moms, I think I opened Slack and got super intimidated, and I was like, I don't belong here. And that was just something in me, right? It was like, oh, look at all these amazing women doing all these incredible things, and I'm not really, like, that cool.
You
And I think it took me,
are.
like, 2 more months to jump back in, and then I did, and then I met all of you guys, and it's been incredible, and just the different connections I made. So I think there can be a lot of fear that holds people back, especially moms, I feel. I feel like men just are like, "Whatever," they're a little bit more engaging, maybe not. I know for me, it's like, just fight through that fear of not putting yourself out there and see where it can go, because I think really beautiful things can happen if we just get a little uncomfortable and just face those fears.
This is such good feedback.
I was going to say, I love the idea that there's something for everyone, that overcoming fears, being able to jump in when you need something. And again, it's meeting people where they're at. And for me, I find Slack very, very overwhelming. It's a phenomenal product, but I just go in and I'm immediately like, okay, where do I look? What do I do? What's
Yeah.
happening? Who are you people? And for me, that's honestly my biggest hurdle, is that just navigating the amount of information and connection possibility that exists.
Yeah. I think we all have a little bit of platform fatigue in general. It's, there's a silver lining to all this. Like, we can be meeting now, on a screen. We're all across the country, but it can be a little overwhelming for sure.
I didn't know anyone in the Twin Cities before, or Twin Cities general metro area. And this morning, yeah, I was transported and I went to another place in the Midwest for a virtual coffee before I signed into work. And it's still kind of surreal that it's that easy.
Yeah. Ashley, did you have something to say?
I did, and I totally lost it. It went
Sorry.
in one ear and out the other.
I'm sorry.
No, that it's a me thing. It's not a you thing. It's a me Friday.
Oh, yeah.
eh,
Is it
You know,
Friday?
yeah,
What is
right?
it? Yeah.
My running joke is that it's just like a constant loop. That when people are like, "Oh, happy Friday. Yay, it's the weekend." I'm like, "I don't understand.
There
Yeah.
is no weekend.
There's no
No.
weekend. Like, sure, Saturday and Sunday exist, but it's not the restful. It's just a different type of it's enjoyable, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
I'm not sleeping in. Like
No.
if I wake up at 7, that's like, "Oh, wow, I'm rested."
Right. I know. I almost feel like the lack of structure sometimes on weekends. I'm like, so what do we do today? Like, who's in charge here? It's just me. I don't want to be in charge anymore.
I'm taking the day. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Exactly. I'll be outside. You can find me laying on the grass.
Yeah, and I think that's another piece too, and we have talked a little bit about this is like, what day is it? What time is it? Where am I? Like, yes, I can meet someone for virtual coffee, and you've got to like, it's like teleporting without actually doing it, right? It's like, oh, now I'm in this business meeting, and then
Mhm.
I'm having this coffee, and then I'm doing this networking thing, and it's like we like move time and we stay in the same place.
Mhm.
And it's like, how can you cut out all of the transportation of everything and then get to the places you need to go and do the things you need to do? And then it's, like, then it's school pickup time and you're like, okay, now I'm here. Now I have to move from here and I have to go there and do that. And I feel like sometimes for me, I know it's like I get into that like who's on first motion of like, okay, I'm looking ahead here. I'm looking back here. I'm trying to meet people all around here. And so that's one of the things that I do enjoy about a platform where like that gets frozen in time of I will leave that message where it is and then I will get back to it. Or I will forget entirely. That's
There's that
also
too.
it's a 50-50 these days. I will forget entirely and then I will feel bad. But it's not intentional.
Right.
Can I get super weird for a second?
Always.
Please. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good. I had to ask for permission first. So I hate icebreakers. They were the bane of my existence in summer camp or
Yes.
schools or whatever. However, my absolute favorite icebreaker question, if you had a superpower, what would it be? And
Mm.
mine was always teleportation.
hmm
So in some ways, we are living like I have achieved my superpower in quotes because like I go to
Yeah.
California for a coffee. Like and I was in a meeting the other day and someone was in Marin County in Northern California. And I could see out their window and it was beautiful. And I was just like, oh, well, where are you? And I had no idea. And they told me, I was like, I do love marine like, I was, like, watching the birds out her window, and it was truly like a teleportation-esque experience in, a very loose way, I'm not being serious, obviously, but it's wild. So,
Mhm.
that's me being weird for a second. You're welcome.
No, I love it.
Not weird.
Yeah.
Connect all the dots. It's
Mhm.
Mhm.
true though. Like think about before this happened, before all the internet and the connection and email and all that stuff. Like your community was the people on your street or the people in your town, and that could be
Mhm.
really great or not great, or it could be nothing at all. And like how big the world must seem or must have seemed and how teeny tiny you are. Now you're still teeny tiny, but the world is you can be in California and you can be in London and you can be in, you know, the biggest question that I have all day long is what time zone are you in? Like
How do I do the
everything,
math?
yeah. Everything is like, I would love to meet you and I would love to talk and, whatever it is. I need the if people want to put their pronouns at the end, that is like, I fully support that. I also need you to put your time zone. That's what that's my 2025 ask of the world is please let me know because then I end up sending, I think I email you at like 3 o'clock in the morning, your time, Erin. And I'm just like, do. And I'm
All
not
good.
expecting you to email me back. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, she's in a different part of the planet than me.
Yeah.
Not it's that more of the time travel.
Mhm.
One of my favorite things that I've seen recently in people's signatures, and I think this is probably more in the corporate world, is I am sending this email at a time that is convenient for me, and
Mhm.
I don't expect you to respond until it's a convenient time for you, unless like something's on fire, in which case please respond, sort of thing. But I thought that that's been a very nice ode to we're dispersed teams, we're dispersed communities, and we're operating on different levels in so many different ways. But I am here for this time zone thing.
Mhm.
So if you can figure out how to champion and snowball it, I'll be a match with
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post that on LinkedIn today. This is my plea.
I will
Please
like
Yeah.
just
I will
add.
like your post.
I
I
like
will
it.
engage with that
Please
post.
put it.
Yeah.
Bonus point for Slack. Slack does include your time zone when you need
Mm.
Yeah, there you
to pop
go.
up.
I like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
But I mean, because you guys must be building asynchronously as well, right? Like, because Kate, you live in a very small town, and Allie, I'm assuming that like your developer is not like one floor over from you. So like,
Correct.
it's we're all benefiting supremely from
Mhm.
that. I couldn't have the company that I have if I didn't have all of this, the community piece and the ability to connect with people. Like my developers in Chicago and I work with someone in Georgia and someone in California. And it's like, how are we how are we all connecting? It's just very cool.
Yeah. It is really cool.
I know.
We did do like a quantum leap, right? In the last 10 years of not even 10 years of all that we're able to do. It's really amazing.
Teleportation.
Yes.
Yes. It's happening. Destiny.
If only I could just travel somewhere that easily, that would be nice.
Mhm. Where do you guys think I mean, it does feel like right now we're in the boom of online community, and we're in the boom of like people are saying like mesh things together so that we have these silos that are established, right? Like this is the group for these people. But meshing things together like you guys are both doing, like where do you think that goes in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a great question. I'm in the camp of I love having all of these communities, and I also feel very overwhelmed by them. I do feel as though there are so many that are popping up, and it's great because there are so many people and everything serves a purpose. But it's very challenging to be like, okay, well, I can only, budget wise, these are not necessarily free communities. Budget wise, what do I choose? How do I choose? Trying it out. So I do think that we're not the .com bubble and the community bubble, but I do think that we need to grow to somewhere that having just 20 Slack groups, maybe that's not the goal, but for me, like that's not sustainable. So I loved Kate's thing about having, 3 to 5 that you choose. Maybe you cycle in and out and figuring out what other offerings there are. I know Kate does some awesome coaching and other sessions. So it's not just it's a community in every sense of the word. And then for BeeKyn, we are looking to be the light touch technology and again, light on the community on in terms of technology. So it's meant to bring you out into the real world. It's not meant to be your community is linked on your phone. We may not know who's in your community. It's just we're helping to facilitate those connections and to drive the interactions. Slightly different, I guess.
I just want to know I am not coaching myself. I'm not.
I'm sorry. But you have like there are coaching, right?
There are I contract with 2 coaches inside of the community, which is not germane. I just want to like say I'm not a coach. If you're like, wow, that woman coaches. No, I don't. I need the coaching. That's again why I built the community.
This is kind of like I'm not qualified to give you legal advice or medical advice. But that was Kate's fine print, back to the regularly scheduled
Right.
program.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but Ashley, I have no idea as far as like where things would be in 10 years because like Erin said, in the last handful of years, we've made quantum leaps. I think there is a boom right now because we're lonely. Politics and the state of the world, especially here in the United States, is so upside down, bonkers. And it's totally like, for me, soured social media. So, where I was spending, I mean, I haven't been on Facebook in a long time. And then like Twitter is just like totally dead, like old Twitter was like my favorite spot to hang out online previously. Now it's like LinkedIn and niche communities is like where I'm spending time. Every once in a while, I go on Instagram for like a funny reel and to watch TikToks. Again,
Millennial.
millennial.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, like I have no idea 10 years, 5 years, 1 year from now, but I know that the existing poison that is social media, not that it's like all bad. I think that like point of connection is still really important, but now you can get that with people who are more, have more in common with you through niche communities. And I think that, no, not having to like sift through your aunt's political opinions and like Timu ads is like very valuable. But you don't get that on every platform. But yeah, I do feel like community, like online communities are like the antidote to social media. And then the getting people together in person is still so, so, so important. And that's like the hope is that as Society of Working Moms scales, we'll be able to continue to host in-person events. And it's not me hosting them, it's me saying, here's the toolkit, go out and do it. So we had one in-person event around International Women's Day, and we're going to do a second that I'm not going to. So I'm like, okay, it's like, it's all in your hands. How can I support it? But like, I want the members to like take it upon themselves to say, hey, you're in San Diego or hey, you're in Boston. Let's get together. Because although the online is very convenient for working moms, there's just something that's so important about getting together face to face, which again, why something like BeeKyn is so important.
Yeah, we've definitely been redefining what community looks like with all these different platforms online. But meeting in person is so important. And I feel like this younger generation maybe doesn't fully understand that because they've just grown up with, the internet and all these platforms. And maybe they don't even understand what loneliness looks like because they feel like they're connected. And that's a whole other conversation, of course. But I think, yeah, bringing it back around to just the importance of meeting in person is so critical to quiet those fears and the loneliness factor of everything because we need people in 3D. As much as I love this, it's like we still need to be able to like give hugs. I think there's just that physical aspect of it all. And
Absolutely.
what we're all doing is incredible, just bringing people together.
Yeah, I do. I think that both of you are the antidote to what is wrong with the way that people connect
Mhm.
socially now. Like Kate, totally agree. Like, we all sort of joined a social media platform to find connection, and then everyone else showed up. It's like finding the new restaurant, right? You're like, oh my God, the food is so good, and this is exactly where I want to be, and this is like exactly like the music's not too loud and the lights aren't too low. Like I
Yeah.
can find things here that I like. And then all of a sudden everybody shows up and you're like, oh, I really like that place. It was awesome, but I don't go there anymore because it's all, there's an hour wait or there's a whatever that's happening. And I love that, the idea is if you're just looking for that curated piece, that your answer is in community. And then also beyond that is, yes, you have a curation element, but you're still having the opportunity to make that in-person connection. So I think that what
Mhm.
both of you are building is, I think that is the future and how people, as these major platforms get more polarized and more, I don't know, it's like loud and bold and whatever and
Management
less.
changed.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like a new management, same meal, but new management, and you're like,
Mhm.
but not really.
Yeah.
I do think that people are moving in that direction. So high fives all around
Mhm.
for you guys. I
Oh,
think we're
Alli,
building
we are the
amazing things.
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
Teleportation, BeeKyn, and society
Yeah.
working moms.
I also want to call out that podcasting, I think, is also in this space of community, that it's not
Mhm.
happening in real time, but the people who listen to these conversations and who tune in, and this is part of their community building. Like, I hope anyone who listens to this will feel free to reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn and, you know, building your network. That's part of your community, being able to say, oh, Erin, I heard that episode that you did and it really resonated. Like, it lives in your community bank almost. And I love that it's, again, I go back to this idea of a menu, that I'm the type of person when I go out, assuming there's still the same management, I'm like, oh, well, my husband and I will share an appetizer, share two mains, and maybe like we mix and match because we want to try a little bit of everything. And podcasting is such an important layer in that aspect of community.
Yeah, especially when the podcast, like I feel like Allie Ward and Ologies does a great job, Dax Shepard and the
Mhm.
Armcharies, like
Yeah.
because there's like an actual like culture around those podcasts, it's like it really breaks that like content wall where it's like, no, you do feel like you're part of a community. And you hear it every time someone calls in and they're like, this is the first thing I listen to on Tuesday mornings or like whenever the episodes drop. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a followership or listenership that is that broad, but like having a shared language, having inside jokes, having like a name you call yourselves. Like I think that's what really makes the content of a newsletter too. Like newsletters are in that category too, where a lot of people will say like, come join my community. And you're like, you join and then you're like, oh, I'm just on their newsletter list. Like I don't feel like there's like a back and forth. I might be able to respond to the email, but like where's the ability to like actually it's a many to one or one to many versus like many to many platform. But I think I do absolutely agree that podcasts can be in that community realm as well. And maybe this roundtable is
Yeah.
headed
Just the
headed to
beginning.
that territory.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Once you master four, you're gonna have 10 squares on the screen, and it's gonna
And
be
you
like, okay, who's
just
gonna talk now?
Right.
we're just gonna have assigned numbers, right? Like
Yeah.
hold the comment. You're gonna but I mean that's why I started my podcast is because it was during the pandemic. I couldn't watch the news. I couldn't because I didn't want to watch the news because nothing was changing and nothing was good.
Mm-hmm.
I had little kids at home who were like, "What does this mean?" And like, they're just showing footage of people in the hospital and we weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And, like then your world as a parent or as a mom, it already gets smaller, right? Because you know, your your head's down. Like I say this all the time. Like I'm finally at a stage of parenthood. My youngest is 5, where every time I look out, I can look above like an adult's waist. Like for so many years, it was just like everything was waist and below, and people would talk to me and I would talk to people, but like I was watching,
Right.
someone's not sticking something in their mouth or their eye or, whatever. But it was that idea of like, there's podcasts out there that talk about businesses and there's podcasts out there that talk about parenting, but who is bringing all of this together? And it was trying to, through the pandemic and being really isolated, trying to find people that I could relate to and stories that I could relate to and things of like people who had kids that were a little bit older than me who were like, yeah, no, this right now is a little bit of a sandpaper moment for you, but then beyond that is this. And so when we came out of COVID and the kids went into school and all that, I was like, topic number 1, podcasts on my like to-do list because it is so important and it is something that I craved for myself. And I was like, I can't be the only one.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to somebody about this morning, which is very weird, but it's that idea of like someone's got to plant the flag and say, hey, I want to make sure that these 2 parents who live close to each other in New York City who have similar interests have a way to find each other because how else would you find each other?
Right.
And I want to make sure that like parents that live on opposite coasts who are looking to do the same thing, to do something collaboratively are not stuck like they're not stuck in the tunnel of part-time hiring platform where, you put up one thing and then you immediately take it down because you're just flooded with garbage. So it's the planting of the flag that has to happen. And I think that's what's the hardest step to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And it's the most important thing because you have to be the one who stands up and are like, this kind of sucks for me, or like, I'm looking for this. And then all of a sudden, it's like all the gophers pop up.
Yeah.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just getting over that initial fear, right? And you like, I need this. I know that someone else out there needs it too. So let's do the
Mhm.
thing. Yeah. And I think, especially as working parents, we all know what culture looks like in a corporate sense or in our home, but it's like, how do we create that elsewhere in all these different spheres that we're in? And yeah, it just takes that bold move to make that first step. And then you, like most things, you figure it out as you go.
Yeah. And you're also in a space too, like, where your ability to meet people organically drops when you're in an office. Like that's where you spend all that time.
Mhm.
When your kids are older and they just go and do the thing, like all of these touch points that we have, they just start to like not atrophy, but they just get eliminated by how your life is progressing.
Mhm.
And so backfilling that with opportunity for connection online and then maybe facilitating different ways to connect, I think is such an important step for people to not feel like, oh, I used to do this. Now that door is closed and like I can't even consider that because there's no longer an option. It's creating options for people to be able to find more people like them or similar, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I want to honor everyone's time. I know that we're coming close to an hour. Any final thoughts or plugs that you guys have?
No, just thank you for the conversation. And I think in the spirit of community, I'll just reiterate that we'd love to hear and connect with anyone who listens if things resonate. And just know that there's something out there. It may not be what we're working on, and that's totally okay. But this is like the memo to say, if you do a little digging, you might find what you're looking for.
That's a great final note. It's like what we are building is not going to be for everyone, but there are other people building things. Like you can find your people and you will find your people if you are. It might take a little work to find them, but I'm not the first and only digital space for women or moms or working moms. So keep looking for the people. If you're feeling like you are in need of community, it's out there. We're out there. Yeah. Thanks for having us, Ashley and Erin.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you guys. This is great.